Tuesday, April something, 23rd. We are here with one of my favorite people and companies. I'd like to welcome episode number 14, Mr. Fritz Heffinger of Outcold to the program. What's going on, Fritz?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. This is really, really cool. I appreciate the opportunity, and pretty sweet that we're doing it from our living room. So
yeah, real sweet. So we'll let people jump on here as the stream jumps up on the Facebook page. But just as a reminder, what we figured is we could use this time to hear a little bit about the stories and the entrepreneurs who have built companies that we're familiar with. But we don't know anything about. We just apply for these programs because we see it and it's this amount of money or this sounds cool. But it'd be really nice to learn a little bit more about the story and how they came to be. So like I said, today's guest is Fritz with Outcold. They are based here in Chicago. Before the call, Fritz told me, hey, I'm going to be rocking a tie-dye shirt. I've been rocking a tie-dye shirt for a while now. And I told him, I don't think I have one. But I did go deep into the.
Oh, nice. Yes.
So I will be rocking the tie-dye shirt as well. Yeah, this is really exciting. For anybody who's watching right now, we're going to do something cool. I'm going to show this in the stream real quick. There is this T-shirt right now.
Yes.
Look at that. It looks great. For anybody who's watching right now, feel free to hit that like button or the heart button and the share button. That will get you qualified to win this awesome Outcold T-shirt. So
limited edition, just dropped yesterday.
Limited edition. Just go ahead and hit that heart and like button, and we will get the winner chosen probably tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this image. Sweet. Look at that production work. All right.
Nice.
Cool. Fritz, tell me, let's talk nothing to do with about events. Tell the people, what do you do when you're not doing Outcold and you're not doing events?
Oh, man. I'm not doing Outcold and not doing events. I'm a big outdoor guy and a big car guy, surprisingly, those of you who've been to our office. So I really enjoy snowboarding, skiing, riding dirt bikes, and fixing cars. And I've got 2 young kids that are slowly falling in those footsteps. I think yesterday afternoon we built a bike jump that ended up having 15 children on it, riding around the neighborhood. They kept doing. So yeah, we're big outdoor people. When the COVID thing first launched, we actually pillaged for a month up to northern Wisconsin for a house that we've had since the 70s. My family has had. And so we got to do snowboarding. We got to do a little bonfires. We got to do snowmobiling. And it was a really fun way to kind of relieve some stress and stuff like that. And came back to Chicago last Thursday. So
yeah, very, very nice. Cool. So for the people that don't know anything about Outcold, I think you have an extremely cool company. I've been to your office before. How about we talk a little bit? Like, if I didn't know you, how would you describe Outcold to me?
Well, there's 2 ways to describe Outcold. The first way is that anybody watching that knows the blockbuster hit Outcold the movie. Yes, it is based on Zach Galifianakis' first movie he ever made. Yes, the tap room at the office is called Bull Mountain. So things are a little looser at our office. I'm trying to get people started with that. But the second thing is that we are truly a family-run organization. My wife and I own it together. We both started it coming off of working for big, major holding companies and agencies. And the idea was really, and as cheesy as it sounds, is the golden rule, which is treating people how you want to be treated. And that's employees, that's 1099 staff, that's clients, that's anybody that's there. We really want to really create something different and want to create something that is a family. You know, all of our employees are really good friends with. We just launched the Dinner with the Heffingers program where our employees come over for dinner with us and stuff like that. So we really try to do that. And, you know, we really want people to be at a place that they feel like they can contribute. You know, I tell people all the time, I absolutely hate being called the CEO because of all the BS you got to deal with.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, like, titles mean nothing to me. It's what you can do when you come in and do work. And so we really give people a way to do that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I do want to mention, for all those that are just joining, feel free to hit that like and the share button. For anyone who does, we will be giving away a tie-dye branded Outcold shirt that just dropped yesterday. And there's a little bit of significance with what yesterday was. Fritz, what was yesterday?
Yesterday was Outcold's 10-year anniversary, which is pretty crazy to say that I launched the company from my apartment and I'm celebrating 10 years from my house. So
that is pretty amazing. And I was like, God, you know, what do I really like about birthday parties? And what have I been missing a little bit just living inside? So I got you a little cupcake.
Oh, cake! Thank you.
Right?
That's awesome.
A little 10 celebration. I'm going to blow the candles out. I'm not going to sing so we lose people, but.
Nice. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Happy birthday to Outcold. And let's learn a little bit about your journey and about Outcold now.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's see here. What type of a work were you doing before you even got into the event world?
Well, it's funny. Actually, I graduated from the University of Kansas and got a job. What everybody quoted was their dream job, which is at a very large PR firm here in Chicago that starts with an E, to give you a hint. And it was a cube city, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I had interned a couple of agencies in Kansas City, and one of them had called and said, "Hey, we have a job for you. Do you want to come back and work for us?" I was like, "Oh my God, I love working for these people. This is awesome. I just moved into my parents' house. So yes, I would love to move out of my parents' house." And they're like, "Well, we actually need you to do us a favor before you can come in full time." I'm like, "Okay, what's this?" And this is 15, 17 years ago.
Okay.
They said, "Hey, we need you to drive a Hummer H2 ice cream truck around the country for Blue Bunny ice cream." And I was like, "What? I just graduated college to be the ice cream man?" But that sounds awesome. So yes. So yeah, I for 6 months drove an ice cream truck. And it's crazy because during that 6 months, I really learned the connection that people have with brands when it's a human-to-human interaction. You know, that there really is loyalty, there is conversations. Like I had conversations with people about ice cream for 30 minutes, which I would have never thought of. And from there, it really just kind of enlightened me into what kind of marketing I wanted to do. You know, when I graduated college, or in college, they didn't have anything to do with live events or the event world. It wasn't even really there. You know, Red Bull started, 15 years ago, really doing, marketing and that kind of stuff. So no one really had it. So I graduated with this a standard, communications journalism degree, and kind of followed this path into it. So I went back to the company and ran the Build-A-Bear Workshop, which is one of the biggest mobile event tours that had the big 53-foot semi, double bump outs, the whole thing. And, it was routing that and doing all that. And, that's kind of where my passion then fell into, is like really the problem solving of the experiential world, where, I always tell people all the time, you're not paying me just for my ideas. You're paying me to, when shit hits the fan, to figure it out, kind of thing. Yeah. So that's where I fell into it. And so my journey led then to a couple of smaller agencies in Kansas City.
Okay.
My wife and I had just gotten married. And so we kind of sat down at one Thanksgiving. We're like, we love Kansas City, but like, we just want to do something before we have kids. So like one of us go find a job, and if it's a good job, the other one just comes and we'll just figure it out. So Holly ended up finding a pretty decent job in Chicago, which is where I'm born and raised. And so we moved. I kind of left my last agency, and I had just helped them bring in some Toyota work because cars are my passion, and got to Chicago, kind of put on hold. Had a lot of people calling like, "Why'd you leave?" I'm like, just giving the PC thing, like, just needed to change and do something different. So I started a consulting, LLC, because my cousin's a lawyer. He's like, "You must be protected. Get an LLC." So I started Outcold Marketing as just a consulting gig. So I competed in wakeboarding and water skiing in school, and a couple of the water skiing wakeboard groups are like, "Hey, we'd love you to help us with some marketing. We'll pay you." I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
And then I got the phone call from Toyota, who said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Hey, you know what? Nothing against the old group that I work for, just needed a change. Like, well, the only reason we went with the old group was because you. So whatever you're doing, we want to be part of.
That's
And
amazing.
so within a week, I already had like 3 or 4 like dealer level events with Toyota, which was great.
Yeah.
And then my action sports background kind of led me to Red Bull, and then Red Bull hired us to do a lot of their back end logistics for these big events that they would do in Chicago, and it just kind of started snowballing. And we never really did, up until literally 6 months ago, any marketing for Outcold. Like, it was all word of mouth, it was all client referrals, it was all of that stuff. And that whole golden rule mentality that we kept telling people that we did was really starting to work. And yeah, so basically we were out of a 1.5 bedroom apartment, basically where Cabrini used to be, which is now Cool River North. And, you know, I would be at home, and those of you who don't know me, and some of you who are just doing that, let me know about meeting me now, can tell I have an extreme form of ADHD. It's very hard for me to even sit in this chair to talk to you. So I'd be coming up with all this crazy stuff, and Holly would come home from work and be like, oh my God, Holly, you got to help me, like, write this proposal, or can you check the spelling on this, or how does that look? And so, like, probably by, I don't know, the end of that summer, Holly was like, I can't do 2 jobs. Like, we got to make this work. So out of our apartment, it was Holly and I. Holly and I would do all the, basically come up with, book all the events. We would then be 2 of the however many staff members they needed. We would store everything in our like 98 Tahoe that we had at the time, like tables and tents and everything in our parking spot. And like, it just kind of started going from there, and it worked really well. And so one of the things that we decided when we decided to bring on employees was, both Holly and I have been in situations, especially in the marketing world, that when a client loses, or an agency loses a big client, whoever's working on that client is gone. And so we basically decided that, hey, when we bring people in, should all of our clients tell us to pound sand, get out of here, we want to have enough money in the bank for at least 1, if not 2 or 3 months of salary to help people either find new work and or help us find new business and things like that. We didn't ever want to have to lay anybody off just because of something that was uncontrollable. Like, if you weren't doing your job, fine, whatever. But if a client leaves, that's kind of uncontrollable. And so we want to make sure that we didn't lose people because of that. So that's been our motto. And obviously right now in the Corona time, it's been very thankful that we had that in place. So
no, that's awesome. So when you guys were working out of that 1.5 bedroom apartment, I mean, you kind of talked a little bit and you touched on it, but you are doing everything. It's just you, right? And so if nobody else does that for a project, there's no like, hey, Brian, can you take care of this part of the logistics? Or, hey, Tim, can you take care of this? Like, you guys are running the show. And was there a time there where Holly was also, she wasn't full-time and she was just kind of helping you with it?
She wasn't, but the thing was, I mean, at night she was helping me with all the proposals, and then on the weekends she would come and work all the events. I mean, the best way to build up a bank account and to build, you know, to be able to save money to spend it, we would just be the BAs too. And so obviously we're the closest one. So we would train any of the brand ambassadors that would come. So we did a lot of events in Milwaukee and Chicago and Kansas City and St. Louis. And so Holly and I would come, and maybe we would bring, like, we have a whole bunch of friends that, you know, because we're 24, 25 at this time. So like, we know a bunch of young friends, like, listen, if you come, you get a hotel room, we'll take you out for dinner and drinks. You just got to work this event. So it was a lot of like friends and family that really, I mean, it was really a bootstrap thing. Like, there was no money behind it. We literally had enough money to buy 1 computer at the time that we started the company, and the $400 LLC fine, and basically bootstrap the whole thing.
For those of you who are just joining right now, we're here with Fritz Heffinger. He's the blank and founder, because he doesn't like the word CEO, of Outcold Marketing. Really, really awesome company here in Chicago. So you guys are full service experiential, right? You do a little bit of staffing just for your own program?
Just for our own programs. A lot of our, I mean, if we do run into times where we do use staffing agencies and we have to get more than, you know, 5 or 6 people, but, you know, over the 10 years, our motto, especially on 1099 employees and brand ambassadors, things like that, we always tell people that we feel that we pay the most, we pay faster than anybody, and we expect more, we expect the best. And so we always tell our clients, like, listen, if you're going to put us up against anybody else, it's going to be more expensive. But these are people that I and Holly, they have our information. Like they called us yesterday for our 10-year anniversary. They like know our kids' names. And like there's a lot of people across the United States that are amazing brand ambassadors that we built this repertoire with. And so we basically go to them, and then, if they can't work, then they help add somebody. But we try really hard not to just do, a cattle call type thing. We really try to feel like we handpick people, and every brand ambassador that works for us has a direct line of contact with somebody in my office, and then a backup to that person as well.
Yeah.
And they are very much empowered. Part of our brand ambassador training at Outcold is the recap and learn. Like, hey, if you see an opportunity to change something or something that's not working or something like that, please either one, let us know, or if it's in the heat of the moment, make that decision. And I think that a lot of people really enjoy that. I think that they really appreciate that we know that we're not on site, and that everything that's on paper doesn't always work in person. So a lot of the teams that work for us really like that empowerment, and also like that we ask them to say in the recap, what could be different? What could have been better? Tell us so we can fix it.
For sure. It made me think of one of my first tours that I went on. We were not in an H2, but we were in a Toyota FJ Cruiser, and we were pulling a little like 10-foot trailer along with us, and just there weren't many cubby holes like built into it. I think there were a lot of bungee straps or ratchets, right? And I'll tell you, we came back and it was just a mess. Like every time we had to load the trailer, right? It was like, right?
The Jenga thing of shoving everything in.
Right. And so we were one of two teams, and we got back to our fabricator up in Wisconsin, and the other team opened their trailer, and we're like, what? And he goes, oh yeah, I was tired of all this stuff moving around and all that. And so I just spent the weekend, and I went to a Home Depot and I built custom shelves inside this trailer.
Awesome.
And it was amazing. And that moment started, was like the catalyst for all of the 10-foot trailers on programs moving forward to have like dedicated spots for everything.
Which is amazing. And it's amazing that person felt that they could do that and not have repercussions. And that's why I want to make sure people feel like that. I mean, you gotta remember, especially I know that there's a lot of PAs that are listening to this and things like that. You guys are literally the front of our event. We are only as good as you are that day at the event. My agency is looked at, I tell people all the time, what sets Outcold apart is, we can put together a really pretty proposal that's got shiny lights and stuff like that, and a really pretty recap that's got some fake numbers and stuff like that in it. But what you're really paying for is what happens on site. Yeah. And that's where I feel that we're the best, and I feel that we have the best people that understand that know that they're not just a 1099 employee, that they are literally the main cog that's making this wheel go.
So speaking of the pretty lights and all that stuff, Outcold builds vehicles, correct?
We do. Yes, we do. Yeah, it's been the idea of bringing everything in-house was a idea a long time ago, knowing that we had creative and we could do staffing, because we started doing staffing and basically people like working for us, so they had the staffing and they come in. And then my family's background is automotive, and I've always been a gearhead and always do this. And I would, the first couple of years, we would hire out some of the fabrication. It would come back, like you were saying, like, why the hell wouldn't you just spend $30 more and put a shelf there, kind of thing. Like, and it just started spiraling out of control. And so we never had a big enough space until 5.5, 6 years ago to do it. And I would rent shops, or I would go find, especially here, I'm a big supporter of local craftsmen and local artists. So we would find local carpenters that had an artistic touch, and we'd go into their studio and we would pay them, and we would build stuff there with them, and they were artists. And I tell people all the time, like, especially in our fab shop, the guys that work in our shop, anybody, nobody take offense here, anybody that's a carpenter can build a house, but it takes a carpenter that has that artistic or eye or just a little screw loose in their head kind of thing to really add that level of detail that gets people to stop and think. And I think anybody listening that's been on a vehicle or an asset that's been truly built by an artist, they know that people stop and spend more time in it because there's so much to look at and there's so much to talk about and things like that. So we know that, and we understand that, and we feel that that's part of the thing. And again, people say, oh, all you do is vehicles. Well, Yeah, because everybody's doing mobile right now. When we first
Yeah.
started, we would do pop-up shops in New York, but for what it costs to do a pop-up shop in New York, I can take you across the country twice and hit every major city in between,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just kind of became our specialty. I'm a big fan of unique things, like very different things. And I think that really came to play in the era of social media.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of you on here are like, what is this man talking about? Social media's been around forever. Well, no, it hasn't. And so when that started happening, people just started taking pictures of our vehicles, no matter what brand was on it. Our 87 Land Cruiser, our VW bus, it really started going like, oh shit, like this is cool. And no one wants to touch these vehicles with a 10-foot pole because they break down. And guess what? They still break down. So, it's really become a story and really fun. And we're very, very fortunate to be able to do it.
So on that note, I think the first time that I had heard about Cold is I saw one of those vehicles that you're explaining on social media.
I know where we're going here.
I was like, who built this? This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So for everyone who's watching right now, yes, great website. Now following on Instagram. We're going to get.
I see these questions. I'll get to your question. I see a couple of them. I'll definitely answer these in a second.
We'll get to them. But I did tell Fritz, I was like, you have such a visual business. I'd love for people to see some of your work and talk through kind of the vehicle and how you got into the program or whatever it is. So first one I'm going to show here, right here, is this Nike little bus. How did this particular vehicle come to be?
Okay, so again, every vehicle, I'm going to tell you guys, I can talk about vehicles all day, so I'll keep it as fast as possible. Every vehicle in our office, and there's probably 15 to 20 at any given time, they find me, and I'm not even kidding, they find me. This particular vehicle, a man in northern Wisconsin, which is very true to my heart, had this, and it was a 30-year state of Wisconsin licensed concession trailer. It had a popcorn maker, cotton candy maker, a hot dog roller, all this stuff in it. Well, he had posted it on Facebook, and he was looking to trade it for something that he could do the 4th of July parade with his grandkids in. And lo and behold, I got stuff to trade all the time. So I sent him a picture of a 1974 VW thing. I said, it runs great. I just did a pride parade for Nordstrom in it all over the country. It's really reliable, but I need something bigger. And he goes, yes, in. So fast forward, the agency that does Nike is MKTG, which I'm sure a lot of you know and probably have worked for. And they started looking for people who had unique things. And so they came into the office and fell in love with it. And they said, okay. So one day we got a phone call. They said, hey, Nordstrom in New York is launching. Nike has a specific area in the store. And they just gave us a budget to do a mobile version of that. Can you help us? Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, it needs to be done. It needs to be in New York in 3 weeks. And it needs to be spot onto the store, but it also needs to do tarot card reading. And I was like, normally when that kind of stuff comes out of people's mouths, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But then they sent a rendering and said, this has been approved. And I was like, whoa. So we basically said, we're in. This is so unique and so different and so our style. We're in. So well, what vehicle you're thinking? Like, oh, like the VW bus. And I was like, no, you know what? I got a vehicle that just came in. I haven't showed it on Facebook. I haven't shared it to anybody because it's kind of special. I really want the first time that this thing goes out to be really cool so we can get some cool photos and stuff like this. I think it's perfect. So they all came in. They saw the cotton candy maker and the popcorn machine. They're like, we don't see it. And so we started mapping it out with painter's tape and kind of walking through it like, oh, my God, this could work. And by the time that got approved and done, we had 2 weeks to get it to New York. So we turned that thing in from a concession trailer to that while our head of production had gotten married in the middle of it and on his honeymoon. So it was like a real skeleton crew, and including myself, which was kind of fun that I got to go in the shop for a week. But we put it together. And again, I think part of that experience was that vehicle looked so crazy, but like we added like underglow neon. So like when it pulled up, so the deal was it would go to the Nordstrom store during the day. And then from 5 to midnight every night, we would just start roaming the bar districts, flipping these neon lights on and just being like, who wants their tarot card read? And people were like, what are you talking about? And so it became a really fun guerrilla style campaign that worked really, really well. And the inside was just, shag carpeting, and my guys made some custom woodwork out of it. It was really, really cool. And again, from trailing it, so we do our own shipping and logistics too. I think, Brian, you've seen some of our trailers.
Yeah.
Our guys that shipped it to New York from Chicago could not get out of a gas station in less than 45 minutes because everybody was coming up to him like, what is this? Can we see it? What's going on?
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that I'm going to partition into real quick is some of you BAs that are out there. Some of the best things that you guys can do is my mentality of like every client looks at things, stop A, stop B, stop C, stop D. The magic really happens between stop A and stop B and C and D. And anytime you can make magic happen between those stops is a giant added bonus to anybody. And that's what we do really well.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so really like that one. We talked about how, and if anybody's just joining right now, we're here with Fritz Heffinger of Outcold Marketing here in Chicago. They're an amazing company. If you haven't yet, hit that like button or that heart button, smash that share button. Each one of those times that you hit it, we're going to be giving away an Outcold special 10-year anniversary tie-dye shirt because 10 years was just yesterday. If you missed the program, I lit a candle for Fritz and Outcold, and I will be eating a cupcake after the episode. So Outcold is because of the movie, which I remember when I was in high school, we would watch it all the time. Zach Galifianakis was in it. Great snowboarding movie. So speaking of movies, this next project must have been extremely cool to do.
I know where we go here. Yes.
Let's talk
about Mud Cuts.
Let's see here.
Mud Cuts. Mud Cuts is a I was like, yep, 100%, no doubt. So then I shook the hand, and then the story goes. But now the idea of building an actual movie replica. So anybody that knows me, I don't just do things for show. I do things for go. It has to look the part, but it actually has to work. And so we got a hold of a couple of copies from the original movie premiere that they drove the original van to. And it's the highest res still photos of the van that we could find. And started, this is a 2014 Ford Painter van. That's what it is. And all the nose and the legs. So we had to have the legs had to hinge. Like they had to happen. We had to have all that work. It all works. Like the nose, where you see the two holes there, that's air intakes to cool the radiator. And all around the headlights are little holes there that are like supposed to be whiskers. That's all for cooling the radiator, so it works. So we started to build this thing, and I was like, so what are you going to do on the inside? They're like, well, nothing for now. It's just going to sit in front of the hotel. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I don't want to overstep my bounds here, but you're missing the mark. Like, this thing is going to freak people out. Like, we got to do something. Like, no, we can't. I was like, no, we got to do something. So we finally convinced him, let us do a custom interior. And again, this is a panel van, so there's no windows in the back. So it's kind of step into my creepy van kids idea. So what we did is, where the windows should be in the van, we put a custom die cut sticker of the Aspen mountain range, which is where they were headed. We took 300 yardsticks, like old wood yardsticks, and made wood paneling throughout the things, which got that school theme. And then we made a custom headliner wallpaper of Petey the Parrot. And Petey the Parrot was on the ceiling. And in the back, basically you would open up the back, we'd have the stereo, a grill would pull out, and basically these guys get set up because they're in college towns, and they get set up to tailgate. Well, the first event that they go to is Madison, Wisconsin, and people were, excuse my French, they were shitting themselves. It was crazy. The problem is that the Graduate Hotel is like, our team is going to do it because we have our own team for each city. I was like, great, no problem, do it. I'm happy to build it for you. Well, all of a sudden I get a picture of a whole bunch of frat guys standing on the hood of this car. I'm like, oh my God, I can already see what's going on here. So needless to say, the best part about Graduate was, one, their creativity that they let us use, and two, their willingness to beat the crap out of this thing just because it brings joy to people and then bring it back to us to fix. So about every 4 to 6 months, this vehicle comes back to the shop, and I'm not even kidding you. One of the legs on the vehicle, because you have to tie it down. It's fun to do at the events and fill up gas with it, but if you don't tie it down, you're doing 80 on the highway, it's flapping. They've lost, I can't even tell you how many legs they've lost. I don't even know what happened to them. So it's been a really fun client, because most of our clients we build these things for and we sell them to, they become kind of like the Taj Mahal, like no one's sitting in it and you can't touch it, which I really hate. I love that they use this thing and they literally let college kids take it to tailgate parties just to get a photo with it, So
I actually have an interesting question about that, because when you do build a very custom vehicle like this, right, and it is very, very unique, because it's not necessarily like, hey, I'm just going to go get the brand new Tahoe, we're going to do a graphic wrap on it, and you guys can drive this around.
I hate that. Sorry, that's boring.
But when you do build these custom vehicles, I have to imagine like clients do get attached to them. Like this becomes their kind of jewel, their crown jewel asset, right?
Yes. Are you feeding me a question here about my 10-year email that I sent out? Because you might be. I could jump into it. Yes. The problem with me is I feel that vehicles have a story and have an emotional attachment to the people that own them.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you out there probably don't have that attachment, but through my childhood and my upbringing, vehicles have always had a very special place.
Yeah.
And they always spark a memory or an emotion or something like that. And so the goal with the vehicles is to spark that memory. My goal as Outcold, and as you guys know as brand ambassadors, our goal is to get people to stop. It's up to the client and the brand and then arm us with enough information to keep the conversation going, but we have to get people to stop and talk to us. And so I feel that these unique and different assets do that. Like, it doesn't matter what's on the side of them, somebody's going to have an emotion. Like I always tell people that drive our 63 bus or any of the Airstreams, like, just so you know, there are going to be crazy Volkswagen people that are going to come up to you and literally talk to you for hours about the vehicle. And that's part of the training, and the clients love that stuff. And so it really is, it's fun. And as I said, it's hard for me to describe the connection between a person and a vehicle unless you have that connection. But when you talk to somebody that has a connection to an asset that you're driving or using, it becomes a whole new thing.
So speaking of connections and yesterday's 10-year birthday, I did get an email, now that you mention it, from Outcold yesterday.
I bought it back.
That talked about this bus. Can you tell us a little bit about, I wish I had a picture to pull up here for everybody. I don't, but can you tell us a little bit about this bus in the email?
And there's any of you go to our Facebook page or Instagram, it's on there. So we built a 1952, basically Greyhound bus for High Brew Coffee. And this is right 4.5 years ago. So right as our production facility was really bringing everything in house, but it's a freaking Greyhound bus. Like, in Chicago, like there's no way we could do it. And so we were going to send it off to somebody to get just the initial fabrication on the inside done, and then bring it back to us, and we would do the touches and the finishes and make it look great.
Okay.
Well, we sent it to a guy, and they let it sit in their lot for like 3 weeks. And we're like, what's going on? Like, oh, we haven't touched it yet. We'll deal with it. Don't worry. They didn't have any passion for it at all. So our now production manager made the call and said, listen, we can do this. We can do this. We got enough friends. We got enough people that know we can do this. So we built the High Brew bus it had Grateful Dead tickets from the 70s in the back of it. We found in the back bedroom. That was an RV into a full-on mobile sampling production in a month and a half in our shop. And by building it in a month and a half, I mean, on the account team, they were spray foaming the inside. All the staff people, we were bringing in our brand ambassadors to help lay down carpet and stuff like that. Like, everybody came together.
Yeah.
So our contract with Highbrew was we were going to drive it for them for a year and basically get the kinks worked out, get a really good how-to manual. But they're a very young brand and very eager brand like Red Bull is, and they have a whole in-house team that does all this stuff. I'm like, great. So they wanted to buy it. And it was very tough because it was very tough for everybody in the office because we just all had a very emotional connection to that bus.
Yeah.
So story goes on. About 3 weeks before coronavirus is a thing, I found out that the bus had been abandoned in North Carolina. It had left Highbrew's hand, gone to somebody else's hand, and had been left to die in an RV lot.
Oh.
And I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. So me being me, I made an offer on the bus and basically came up with this idea of our 10-year anniversary. We're going to buy this bus. We're going to do this whole thing about literally repairing it in the parking lot, like taking the engine out, doing all the repairs to it, and then driving it from North Carolina back to Chicago and hitting some of our clients and families and friends on the way home, doing this whole trip, getting back to Chicago would have been yesterday to really release to the world. We got this bus, and we're really trying to create these connections between everything. So obviously coronavirus happens. The funny thing about it is somebody heard about this bus and heard that we were doing this, and cars.com actually called and wanted to send a crew to follow us to go get the bus, repair the bus, and drive it back. And we weren't trying to market it to anybody. We were like, this is such a crazy idea. And there was so much into the brand of cars and people and stuff like that. So we had gotten a sponsor unbeknownst to us about this whole thing. Yeah, and then coronavirus happened. So eventually, the goal is to go get this bus and bring it back. And my goal for it for the summer, pre-coronavirus, but hopefully I still can do it, is I am going to allow brands in Chicago that maybe don't have a chance to do something really cool to use the bus in Chicago. So we have a brewery here in Chicago, a couple of breweries that I've talked about, and people are just mind blown. I really want people to use it. I really want to get good content with it, and I really want people to be exposed to what you can do. I mean, the bus build wasn't that expensive. To put it on tour was an eighth of the budgets I had seen of these semi trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was cool. And so the goal with the bus this summer and hopefully this fall is to get some local Chicago brands involved. And any of you that are out there that work for a brand or know a brand that could benefit from a bus like this at a street fest or something like that, we're going to work with you. The bus is going to be totally free of charge. You can use what you need on it and stuff like that. And it was just a way to give back. Yeah. I think that we are so fortunate to be a family-owned 10 years in business company that we wouldn't have gotten here without any one of you that are listening and anybody that's been out there. So we're trying really hard to find ways to give back and get people back involved.
On that front, you're big with small business, correct?
Very big, yes.
And didn't you just launch was it a website or a merch for small business stuff, right?
Yep.
Real quick.
Yep.
We talk about that.
Yeah. So the Outcold merch shop was a way for people kept asking us what they could do to help us, and not that I didn't want people to help us, but I didn't want people to help us and do something that we didn't think that they were getting something back.
Yeah.
So we launched the Outcold merch shop, and the Outcold merch shop was designed for people to buy merch, and then basically every week the proceeds of that merch, that the items that were the small business ones, stuff like that, would go in buying gift cards to restaurants.
That's awesome.
So we have 4 or 5 restaurants around us. When the hot dog stand next to us had to close, we basically called in and gave them $100. Like, hey, the next orders that come in, here's $100 for them on us, like that thing. And so this idea started to spiral and really get fun, and people were having a lot of fun with it. And yesterday we launched the tie-dyes, and I love tie-dye, as you see. And the tie-dyes were an Outcold. Yes, I love it. We're an Outcold way of like, here's our 10-year, but hey, all the proceeds from the tie-dye shop are going right back to Threadless's program, which is MedShare and all that they basically are doing. And MedShare actually contacted us, and Eric from our shop is literally 3D printing masks and things right now for MedShare. So we're donating the money from the tie-dyes and stuff like that and our shop's 3D printer to MedShare to get what we can out there, to really try and pivot. Yeah. And the goal was not a moneymaker for these small businesses it was to do. The goal was to just stay relevant. We're an agency, thank the Lord, we ended up getting PPP, and so I didn't have to let go any of our 15 employees. And so I'm trying to stay relevant and trying to do things different and really trying to show people that the human connection is still there. Like, we're all looking for that. The best way to do that is to support these backbone businesses, which are these restaurants and the local grocery stores and stuff like that. really need our help and we can't physically go there. So, if you really want to support them, get a cool t-shirt and know that all that proceeds is going to that week's pick on the gift cards and stuff like that to those restaurants.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And for anyone just joining, you can purchase this shirt right on Outcold's website. Click their merch tab. But we're also going to be giving one away. So go ahead and hit that like and heart button and that share button, because that's how you get entered to get this awesome looking shirt. So,
and I'm going to throw in, Brian, with the shirt, you get to pick the size that you want. We're also going to throw in the new tie-dye mask that we launched yesterday. So we got a tie-dye mask that goes, all the proceeds go to MedShare. I'll buy them for whoever wins. You get a tie-dye shirt and a mask for whoever gets it.
Amazing. Okay. So on this next question, I do want to talk about this one because I was in your shop. What was it? Was like the fall last year, maybe? Does that sound about right?
So, yes, it was a long time that this one was here. Yep.
And you brought me through the shop. I always love going through the Outcold shop because there are literally like custom, unique vehicles everywhere, and some are super stripped down to just bare bones. Some have already been outfitted. Some are waiting for the next program. And Fritz goes, "Hey, come out to the parking lot. I want to show you something." And so we go out to the parking lot, and he didn't say this, but I'm going to exaggerate a little bit. Like, "Hey, you know Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks?" And
this is the Cube's bus. This is it. Yeah, this is a project. This is a fun one. The fun thing about Major League Sports, obviously pre this, was a lot of them were getting into the idea of their merchandise being more everyday, not just the jerseys and stuff you buy at the game, but like really lifestyle brands. And a lot of the NBA and NFL teams were hiring people from these major retail brands. And one of the major retail brands was Nordstrom. And there's no secret that Nordstrom has been one of our best clients since 7 years now. And a couple of people that left Nordstrom to go to some of these NBA teams, one of them at the Mavericks, called and said, "Listen, we want to do a merch shop. We want to do it different. We're the Mavericks. It's got to be bigger and better than anything else. We have this envisionment of a double-decker bus. Can that actually happen?" And, my answer to everything, as you guys probably can tell, is yes, it definitely can. The problem with a double-decker bus is it technically isn't street legal unless you are a commercial vendor of double-decker buses. So they don't come up for sale too often. So we had to convince the Chicago double-decker bus company to sell us a bus, and they thought we were crazy. We went over there. They're kind of on the south side in Chicago, and we went over there. A guy in a tie-dye. My shop manager's got a beard down his chest, and we go up there. We're like, "Listen, we want to buy a double-decker bus. Here's our idea." They're like, "Whatever, you guys are crazy, but okay, we'll talk to you about it." So we started talking. We started telling them what our idea was, and then we kind of made them sign an NDA and told them who it was for and what we wanted to do. And we needed a bus, but we needed a bus that had a story. And again, not many people know this, but like the bus itself was the Blackhawks Stanley Cup champion parade bus. And it was the bus that took the mayor down to light the Christmas lights every year too. This bus had a really cool history, and they were willing to sell it to us. So the idea was to make an experience that the Mavericks could take to the Dallas State Fair, all over Texas, to really give the idea of the Mavericks experience that you didn't have to be at the stadium. And it was really fun because they had a lot of fun with it. We learned a lot about how these stadiums turn over from an NBA game one night to an NHL game, stuff like that, the rack systems that they use. But we also educated them on a lot of like logistics behind owning a double-decker bus. I mean, you literally have to have a separate Garmin GPS program to regulate height and length and weight on where you can and can't take it. The project was a very tight timeline. A lot of things got changed. A lot of things we found that were like, as we started building it, like, oh my God, this would be super cool if we did this. A lot of things they found that, like the Mavericks championship basketball court floor, came in 1 by 1 inch by 4 inch pieces that literally make up the entire interior floor there. So we had some like really cool creative things that set us back on timeline, but we had a hard deadline to meet. But it was fun. I mean, the upper deck is a VIP DJ booth that we had to actually raise the floor up 6 inches because the floor was so weathered that we couldn't put any kind of weight up there, real weight. So to put Trex decking up there, we'd make a whole subframe system and whole deal. Very, 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 very cool project. It gets a lot of attention. The Mavericks still use it. It's been out. So it was out the end of last season. They started this season, and then obviously what's going on now. But it's a very active display that they actually use for overflow outside of Mavericks games in front of Dallas Stadium. So
I'm kind of wondering this, and I'm sure other people are wondering this, because you do have the coolest vehicles. Do you actively find them? Do they actively come to you? Do you sometimes purchase them without even having a client because hey, somewhere down the line, like somebody's going to need this and this brand's going to fit into this vehicle?
The running joke at the office when a tow truck or a semi truck that has vehicles on it shows up is just like, what is Fritz hiding from Holly? Things have showed up to the office that, the crazy thing is 9 times out of 10, the vehicles in our office do not have a client tied to them. Okay. 9 times out of 10, it's me trying to stay relevant, try to do different, be different, stuff like that. But also, like, there's just these vehicles that have stories behind them that, like, I can't let just some, no offense, asshole from LA buy it and stick it in a garage. So, like, I really got to do it. So, like, there's one that's out there for the A&W tour that's on pause right now. It's a little 1960s Metro Mite.
Yeah.
I had no intention of needing a step van from the 60s that you can't stand up in, but the story of it was in the largest greenhouse in America, right on the Canada-Washington border. The old man that owned this greenhouse, this is what he drove inside to pick up people's orders and bring it to them.
Oh my God.
And he decided he wanted to sell it. And when I talked to him on the phone, I was like, this is the most genuine story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I gotta keep this legacy going. So we bought it. And again, a lot of them are the same way. They really have their own stories, and I feel like we can recreate and tell them. And I think that the story that the vehicle has sells it to the client too. Like, everybody loves a good story, and as you probably can tell, I love a good story.
Yeah.
But when you get something like that and you bring it in, it gets everybody in the office excited. Like, I'm sure some of them are listening now, but like, it is kind of fun when we bring a vehicle in and it usually doesn't work. It doesn't either run, drive, or stop, which are usually the 3 things I say it has to do, and 9 times out of 10 they don't.
Yeah.
It smokes the entire office, but everybody kind of gets excited about what could it be, or who can we sell it to, and stuff like that. And so, yeah, they find us, and they usually, like the Highbrew bus. Cliff and I knew we wanted an old bus for a long time, and when they said, "Hey, we want a cross-country traveling, basically diner, can you make it?" We're like, oh, yes, vintage bus. So every once in a while, I can't just buy a Greyhound bus and not have a spot for it. Although we did trade a vehicle for a bus one time. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, I can't pass up the story. If our inventory starts getting low, Brian, as you know, and anybody that's out there that's from Chicago, you're more than welcome to come to our office anytime. But like, the office sells what we do. When you come into the office and there's these vehicles and there's a saw going next to a conference room and all this stuff, this organized chaos, it really sells what it is that we do. And so I like to keep new and different things in there so when people come in, they can see that.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought it up yourself, because I was going to ask that. You're in such a unique spot where you're not necessarily this traditional agency, and that vehicle does have the story. And I wondered, like, how much of an asset that is when you are selling a project to a potential client, that you can tell that backstory, because it does almost immediately bring that person into it, right?
Anytime you can bring emotion into work, you're gonna have it. And when clients feel like they have an emotional connection to the asset and where it's been and what it's going to do and stuff like that, it sells itself. I mean, anybody, emotional people or not, anybody likes knowing. It's like I always tell our clients and stuff like that, like, listen, I need to like you and you need to like me. We need to have an emotional connection to make this work, because the common goal here is to make whatever we're trying to do work, and we're going to do that together. Well, when they get an asset then that brings that extra line of emotion into this common goal, it's really, it's stupid as it sounds, it's magical. It's very magical. It's very cool to see somebody get into a 63 bus and me talk about how it was going to go to the Crusher, and my friend Maury, who lives in Sacramento, called me. He's like, this is going to the Crusher, you need this. I was like, oh my God, So it's very, very cool. And as I said, I'm not a fan of Sprinter vans and basic things and stuff like that. I know they have their purpose, but for what I'm trying to do, what I want to accomplish, if I can't get an emotional connection out of somebody with an asset, whether it be a brand ambassador, whether it be a client, whether it be a consumer, we haven't done our job.
On the emotional connection part, I do just want to touch on this because it's something that I've experienced from an agency and having my own shop, and you have this ideation process, right? And you sketch it out, and then you typically send it to somebody who does a 3D render, and you show the client that 3D render, right? And that's a very exciting moment because it's bringing a visual to life, and it's showing them, hey, this is what this can be. So fast forward, once a green light's given, and that client then comes into the shop to see the final project.
It's pretty fun.
Talk about like that exact moment. What do you feel your team who's worked on it to see their reaction, but also their reaction to seeing what was just on a piece of paper?
It's so funny because I tell my guys in the office all the time, and all of you out there that are brand ambassadors, you guys know, it's really hard to tell somebody how it's going to work from a piece of paper. It's really hard. I mean, you can have the best 3D rendering on the planet, but until you get there and see it, and there's that oh shit aha moment when a client walks in, sees the asset, set up, how the consumer journey really is going to work in real life and stuff like that, and basically you just all those emails back and forth of trying to explain it and trust me, it's going to work. So that they just go, oh shit, this is what you guys do. I get it now. Yeah. It's very, very cool. Most of our clients don't want, I mean, we've done a couple. We've done surprise reveals where we do a whole big party in the office and they have not seen the real life at all and they want to be the surprise. Most of the time, they love flying to Chicago because, as you know, we can host a meeting and literally out of the main conference room, they're working on the asset. So, like, you can kind of see it all happening. And they love being a part of it. They love walking it and, like, getting the tape. Like, how many people that don't own a tape measure come to my shop like, can I borrow that tape measure? Like, ooh, you know, that kind of thing. It's like, it's very cool because they get really into it. It's something different. So it's really fun. And I think that really keeps the shop moving. You know, the shop is really hard to do because basically we're being asked to build a house, to bid and build a house and not go over that price, but we still have that final thing. Everybody that does construction knows it's never the right number, but we don't have that luxury. So the shop is always kind of in and flows, but watching people's reaction that aren't around a shop that often or have spent all of their company's money doing this and now they see it is very, very cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Fritz, we could talk all day. I want to ask you a few
questions in.
Right, not that anybody else has anything going on. But want to ask you a couple more questions here. We already know about the name. Where did the logo come from?
The logo is the Bull Mountain. So the logo came from, so Bull Mountain is where the movie's filmed. So the whole idea that we kind of like spitballing, we changed the idea. It used to be an OCM, and then we changed it and got rid of the marketing because we do more than just marketing. Yeah. We did Outcold, and we kind of asked all of our employees and family and friends, like, what do you guys think of Outcold? Like, oh, grab life by the horns, like just jump all in, just, all in. And it kind of like, well, let's Blue Bull, and then Bull Mountain, and it all just kind of worked out.
Yeah, very, very cool. That's everyone's homework. Go watch Outcold. It's a funny movie.
Oh my God, yes. And if you're up at 4 a.m, it's usually on Comedy Central.
Let's see. It was just you and Holly at the beginning, but clearly all of this work cannot be done with an amazing team. Can you tell us a little bit about the team at Outcold?
Yeah, I can say this till their ears bleed. They're amazing people. We're very fortunate that we've been able to come up with a place that people who don't fit into the standard agency mold can go. Some people, I tell people this all the time, like, we don't, Chris, our lawyer, hopefully isn't listening. I mean, we don't really have a handbook. There's not like hey, this is what day 1 is going to look like and day 2 and stuff like that. Like, it's a get shit done environment. Like I tell interns all the time, like, I don't have a job for you here, but I might at the end of the summer, like, make yourself a job, like kind of thing. So we kind of have this thing. I call us the band of misfit toys because everybody in the office has such a totally cool and different, diverse background that they can bring that enthusiasm and diversity into the office that really truly what we feel lives and breathes our company is authenticity. I don't ask people to dress up. I don't ask people to look a certain way or do a certain thing or say a certain thing. In fact, I told one guy in the first week that he worked here, I was like, listen, your emails, you sound like a robot. I really appreciate how like tightened up they are, but like you gotta loosen up a little bit. So like, it's been fun, and there's just no way that we could have gotten here without everybody from day one, family, friends, supporters, employees, all of it. It just is, it's so cool to see that I have gotten to be part of, I guess, the quintessential like American dream, like a bootstrapped American dream,
Yeah.
like, and the treating people how they want to be treated and really finding that happy balance between boss and friend and stuff like that. Like, it really has worked, and it's really, really cool. Yesterday, I can't even tell you guys, like, I'm so bummed I can't get the bus, and this is 10-year anniversary, and I always do this huge 10-year anniversary party for people. Like, we go on trips, and like I just want to show people how appreciative I am. I couldn't do that. Yeah. But yesterday at 10:30, which is our Monday morning video status call, I'm logging in to the status meeting. I got my kids here. All of a sudden, there's this giant commotion going on outside our house, and literally every single one of my employees decorated a car, got in it, and came out and did this parade for Holly and I. And then we did status in our cul-de-sac 6 feet apart. There's this picture my neighbor took from their balcony of like, we got to have the interaction. We missed it so much. It was so cool. And like, that's the kind of stuff that makes me feel like what we're doing is good. And we're not just doing it for money. We're doing it to enrich people's lives and to really give people an avenue to be who they are.
Yeah. That's awesome about the parade. Very, very cool. Speaks very to cool. The company that you've built. Speaking of the kind of the company and your journey itself, Fritz, like, do you feel that there's something unique about you that's gotten you to this moment or where we're at today? Maybe an intangible?
I mean, I really just don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I mean, I think that just, again, it's being me and being authentic. And I tell people all the time, like, I want people to come in and I want people to be them, because that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Like, I'm not sugarcoating shit for anybody. Like, I'm going to tell you how I feel, and we're going to get excited about the things we get excited about, and we're going to get stressed about things we get stressed about. But like, if I wanted to fit into the standard giant holding company agency wheel, like I'm a double AE, and then I'm an AE, and then I'm something like that. That doesn't do it for me. Like, come in. I don't give a shit what your title is. When shit hits the fan, you put up or shut up, and that's how it is. And you can be that, and we're going to give you an avenue to do so. And I think people like it. I think I obviously push people away. Like, if you ever called our main line, it's a little ridiculous, the voicemail I put on there, and people keep asking me to change it, but I really don't care. So,
so everybody, go ahead after.
Anybody that's old enough to remember AOL movie phone will really enjoy our mainline office greeting.
You have an amazing journey, Fritz. I'm sure going back to being a Jayhawk down there in Kansas, to your agency, to where you're at right now, the one you came out of school to work at. Is there anything that you would have done maybe along the way, or you would have told your younger self that would have accelerated this process to where you're at today? Or have you really just enjoyed the journey along the way and how it's played out?
You probably can tell I love the journey. I love the bumps and the ups and the downs and stuff like that. I mean, right now sucks, but other than this journey we're on, no, I like the journey. I think that I tell people this. I speak at colleges and high schools all the time. The biggest thing I can tell anybody is the main thing: excel, learn it, love it, use it all the time. Excel. And the other thing is do not ever count on what is written on a piece of paper. It's always about who you know. It's always about the network that you've made. Just because you graduated with XYZ degree doesn't mean you're getting a job. You need to get out there and do it. I'm fortunate that I had a couple of different internships. As fun as college was, there's just so many people that are coming out right now that just think, oh, I got a degree, let's do it. I got a job, and it's just not the case. And I tell our interns all the time, like, just because the fact that you're here interviewing, you're ahead of like half of the population right now. And I think that people just don't get that. So Excel is the big thing. And then obviously everybody's a connection. Don't ever burn a bridge. You just never know who or where you're going to meet somebody again.
Yeah, that's really good. Last kind of set question, then we can answer a few of these audience questions. A little bit of an unpredictable moment at this time right now, but would you have any advice to people who are thinking like, hey, I think I want to start a business, whether it's in the event world or something else?
Yeah. I gotta tell you this. I know there's people out there listening. It's easier said than done when you've been in business for 10 years and you got employees and you got a bank account and stuff like that. So I get what I'm going to say has a lot of preface behind it. But if you're going to do anything, and I can't say it enough, is to be you. Whatever it is you're going to do it because you love it and you authentically can talk to people about it. You believe in it. You're passionate about it, and it's gonna happen. I mean, I'm telling you, like, no one would have thought that the Jayhawk from Chicago was going to start a business out of his balcony apartment.
Yeah.
But it's just something they're passionate about, like the car thing. The vehicle thing, I just loved. We had an 87 Land Cruiser, which was the Outcold vehicle that kind of just rolled us into this. And it was because we were authentic about it. Like, that was us. This is who we are. We're not selling this vehicle to people. We just think it's super cool. We're going to put our company logo on it. And one thing led to another. And that authenticity of the passion that we have behind this stuff it's people getting attached to it. And I think it doesn't matter what business you do, as long as you have a passion behind it and you can talk to people about it, be enthusiastic about it. I think that it just people are going to need that. And coming out of this coronavirus, people are going to need that so much, that authenticity, that human to human contact, the talking and being passionate about something. People are going to need it. What level that is, I don't know, but they're going to need it.
Yeah. Well, you become more attached to that person, right? Instantly.
Right.
Speaking of attached, and if we want people to get attached to you and Outcold, Instagram handle, what is it?
At Outcold Official.
There you go.
And then Facebook is Outcold Marketing.
All right, perfect. So everybody go follow him real quick. I follow the Outcold Instagram account. I love it because when I'm flipping through and I'm seeing kids' pictures and all this other stuff from men, then I see this really awesome like vehicle build or something. And I'll tell you, Fritz is not just a man that is speaking all this stuff. I think it was last Valentine's Day or 2 Valentine's Days ago. I was walking through downtown Chicago, and I just saw this mob. I think it was in Daily Plaza. Was around.
That was the Metro Mite.
was it Russell Stover?
Russell Stover,
Stover, custom vehicle, beautiful looking vehicle. All these people walking away with boxes of chocolate. And I walk up once I get past the mob, and there's Fritz just right in the middle of it, giving out these boxes of heart candies.
We warned them that you're going to give out candy on Valentine's Day. Like, we'll go through a couple thousand an hour. And I was like, no, we're going to go through 10,000 an hour. So like, trust me. And they were like, no, it'll be fine. We'll send them in waves. And I had my shop guys filling up pickup trucks. Everybody was out there unloading the pickup trucks, getting them into the vans. They can get them all. That was a fun one.
Yeah, it was great. All right, so let's ask some questions here.
Matt, I can go up here.
Okay.
At the top. There's somebody asked about the BA descriptions. I want to talk about that if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
All right. So I couldn't agree. And I'm sorry, I can't see who asked this question, so hopefully you're still on. But Brian, I guess you had a poll today, and I think that this is going to hit the nail on the head. The BA descriptions have to be to a T. The idea of reusing a template for different programs is total horseshit. It's bullshit, actually.
Yeah.
Again, changing these agencies and clients' minds of these are just brand ambassadors that are passing things out and stuff like that is wrong. These people are the front line of your brand, and they're having the conversation. This brand is what you're paying them for. And so there have to be descriptions. There has to be a way for people to understand, like, hey, you're a gatekeeper. You're going to be, when someone comes up just looking for something free, you're in charge of that. When someone wants to move on to something else, okay, you pass them on to this person. Even to the point of like, when do you need to check the oil in the generator, like stuff like that. That stuff needs to be in there. And I think that we do a pretty good job of it because we're so meticulous about those conversations and how much weight they hold in our office. But I think that we also could be better. And I think that you guys out there, I'm telling you, the more feedback you can give people like me about what you're looking for in a description, the more I'm going to put it in there.
Yeah, no, that's really good. This one, I think that came from Ton, by the way. I have my phone up so I can see comments too. This one comes from Max, and you can answer it however you want. I think it's a little bit of a deeper question, but what process goes into creating a successful event campaign, if a big or small company came to you?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is, again, you're going to hear me say that, I'm not trying to be a dead horse, but it's authenticity. Okay. Who are you as a brand? What is it that you stand for? What is it that why did you make this product? What was its initial purpose? And then, like, what is the common goal? Obviously the goal is to sell more. We get that, but we can't always just be looking to sell more. So we're looking for brand awareness. We're looking for samples given out. We're looking for, I mean, you can give me 10 million samples. We'll give them out, but we're going to have 1-second conversations. Like, so you have to find that balance for them and stuff like that. So it's openness. It's developing a program for them, not just shoving somebody into a program that's worked for somebody else. It's really listening, but then being realistic. I think that a lot of our clients will tell you that I like to say no. Like, that's not going to work, because you're spending their money. They're spending money with you. You want it to work. And I don't look at relationships with clients as a one and done. Like, we have 6, 7, 8-year clients for a reason. So, telling them they come up with an idea that it's not going to work and, like, hey, can we pivot this? Or, hey, can I do that? Or when a client gives you a brief and says, hey, this is what we're looking for, this is what we do, we always have that wild card that's in there. That's always like the fourth option that you didn't ask for, but, like, look at this.
Yeah.
And that always gets a conversation going. So I think my big thing to anybody asking about that is, like, do what you feel is, quote, safe for the client, but then throw the wild card in, and usually somewhere in between safe and totally out of control, it'll happen. And people really love that. The collaboration gets really fun because you're taking their idea and you're taking your idea and you're mashing them together because there's some way they can coexist.
What I love about that too is, and for those of us watching who maybe have never seen, like, a very detailed client brief, right, that comes through, that's an RFP, that's very, very outlined. Like, we are looking for X or A through Z and AA through ZZ, and it's very, very detailed. And, sometimes they really do want that exact mold. But what Fritz just said was so important, because we're in the business of creativity. We're in the business of bringing brands and products and services and bringing them to life and making that connection between consumers in the field and that brand or product or service. And there is that opportunity in that middle there, or if you put them that idea, that when they do get 5 or 7 briefs back, and then all of a sudden they read the Outcold one and go, well, this is refreshing, and we kind of like this one, right? And that's an opportunity there. And if they don't want to go with it, maybe it's just not a good agency brand fit. But I would venture the ones who do, that bond immediately becomes stronger. And
I'll tell you, honestly, I think we've turned down every RFP but one. Every RFP but one. And I tell them every time, you came to me for a wild card. I know you did, because I know we're not the safe bet. But as you go through the RFP process and you don't find what you're looking for, let me know. Yeah. That's how Hybrew happened. That's how Toyota happened. I mean, a lot of people. I don't do work for free. I don't ask my people. I don't have enough people to dedicate to just filling out RFPs. Yeah. An RFP is not me. I would never give. I won't even read an RFP. I don't even read most of my email, so I'm not going to read an RFP. So it's just. I think that's so unauthentic, and it starts a relationship off with you being the vendor and they being the power. Like, I'm looking for partnership. I'm looking for, you need help. I have a solution. Let's make it work. Not, I tell you what to do. Yes, no problem. Kind of things. And I get that's how you start a good relationship. That's how a long relationship starts out.
I couldn't agree more. Diana, is Brian's tie-dye planned? Would love to know. It is actually, so if you guys caught, I think it was episode number 2 or 3, Buffy, who's based here in Chicago, is a big White Sox fan, so I rocked a White Sox jersey because I am too. And Fritz, we were changing emails earlier today, and he made a joke about, he's on like day number
37. Every day in captivity, I've had a tie-dye on, so.
And I wrote him back jokingly. I was like, you know what? I don't know. I don't think I have a tie-dye shirt that I can rock with you. But lo and behold, I did know that 2 summers ago, I played on a championship kickball team out in Wicker Park, and we had a fun little evening where we did our own tie-dye shirts. So,
I love it. Love it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Fritz, this has been a lot of fun,
Thank
lot
you for
of
having
fun.
me.
Would you like to leave the wonderful people that are watching now or watching later with any pearls of wisdom or thoughts?
Oh, the pearls with them. I'm going to tell everybody that, like I tell everybody when I speak at classes and stuff like that. I haven't gotten this far doing what I'm doing without meeting and talking to everybody. And if I can leave you with one thing, it's, use me as a resource. I mean, Brian can send you, and we can put it on the public chat. Fritz@outcold.com is my personal direct email address. If you ever want to come in and talk, you ever want to see how our briefs look like, you want to know what our pay structure is, anything that we can do. As I said, we're all about networking, and we're not better than anybody else. So we want to network with as many people as possible. And as I said, continue doing being authentic and being different, because we all come out of this. It's those of us that are different and loud and crazy and coming up with things that we know that other people won't is what's going to happen. So love to have anybody out there, especially all these questions and comments. You guys, please know, I said I don't read emails, but I'm reading every one of these comments here. And I really, 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 really appreciate it. And Brian, I really appreciate you putting this platform together for me to talk about it.
Oh, of course, of course. So everybody, this has been episode number 14 of Trusted Heard Live. Got a good rest of the week too. Tomorrow, Lauren Raimondi with All Aces will be joining us. Thursday, we got Shelly Justice of CMT Agency, who I think is over 20 years in business. So it'll be great to talk with her. Friday, we have other Chicago company called Turnkey DOT. So they'll be on the show. And then next week, we got a full slate too, and we're already booking into May. So this has been so much fun getting to learn a little bit about the entrepreneurs and the companies behind it. And no doubt, Fritz and Outcold is one of my personal favorites, because I just love seeing ideas come to life and to walk through their shop like he explained. You see that everywhere you look. So again, thank you all so much for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow at 3:30 Central.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.